Hello everyone, welcome to today's story. The morning mist still clung to the fields, wrapping the small farmhouse in a soft, silver light. From inside, the sound of a baby's soft breath echoed against the old wooden walls. Tuna kissed her child's forehead gently before placing him in her mother's arms. "Be good," she whispered, her voice trembling. "Let Mom go to work." Outside, the road was long and quiet, lined with longan trees heavy with fruit. Every step she took away from the house felt like walking deeper into uncertainty. Behind her, her mother watched from the door, a shadow of strength and sadness. Somewhere miles away, Alex, the CEO who once shared long, silent afternoons on this same land, felt something shift inside him. Perhaps it was the wind through the orchard, or perhaps it was the absence of her laughter. Either way, it was the beginning of a search that would test the edges of longing and grace. Don't forget to like and subscribe. The truth is just beginning to unfold. The rain began softly that afternoon, painting the sky a pale gray. Alex parked his car beside a quiet roadside market and walked through puddles that mirrored the trembling clouds above. Every vendor he met gave the same uncertain answers. A tall girl, carrying a baby? Yes, I think I saw her go that way. He kept asking, his voice steady but eyes restless. Each direction brought new silence. In between phone calls, he still handled his work, meetings with partners, contracts to sign. Yet behind the calm of a CEO was a man haunted by an empty space. That night, in the dim light of his office, he looked at a small note stuck to the corner of his laptop. 2010, Women's Day. He thought of Tuna, of her hands roughened by work, of her quiet strength when she said goodbye to the farm. A wave of warmth rose in his chest. He knew she didn't need promises. She needed to feel seen. The next morning, while the mist still lay low over the orchards, Alex sent a driver to the local market, the one where she was said to sell fruit. In the car, a bouquet of wild daisies rested beside a white envelope. No message, no sender name, just the gentle fragrance of gratitude. Hours later, at the market, Tuna stopped mid-sale. A small child tugged at her shirt as a man handed her the flowers. "From whom?" she asked softly. He just smiled. "Someone who wanted to thank you for your strength." For a moment, the world slowed. The sound of rain against the stalls, the smell of fresh longan, the weight of the envelope in her hands, all melted into something tender and wordless. She closed her eyes. Maybe some distances can only be crossed by kindness. Meanwhile, Alex drove aimlessly through the countryside, his phone buzzing with updates from Long and Johnny. Still no sign of her. Yet for the first time in days, his heart felt calm. Somewhere out there, he had managed to reach her. Not through words, but through remembrance. That night, Tuna placed the flowers beside her sleeping baby. Outside, lightning flickered, but in her heart, there was only quiet gratitude. The following days stretched long like a road with no end. Alex didn't stop searching. He met Long, the police officer, at an old intersection outside the farm. Johnny joined them, their faces drawn by worry and dust. They asked villagers, knocked on doors, followed faint descriptions that led nowhere. "She was seen walking with a basket and a child," one woman said, pointing towards a valley. Alex nodded, whispering, "Thank you." Evening came with a pale gold sky, The orchard swayed in the fading light. For a moment, Alex stood still, feeling the ache of something more than loss, a kind of devotion that no distance could erase. Far away, in another small town, Tuna worked quietly among the vendors, her baby asleep in a cradle made from an old scarf. Life was humble but steady. The bouquet from 2010 had dried, yet she couldn't bring herself to throw it away. Each petal was a memory of being remembered, of a love that asked for nothing back. Then, fate twisted softly. One afternoon, Adam, Alex's colleague, arrived at the market to collect fruit samples. The moment his eyes caught her face, his breath hitched. Tuna. He walked closer, unsure if it was real. Ms. Tuna? She turned, startled, but smiled with the calm of someone who had survived her storms. Yes, it's me. They talked, short words, long silences. She said she harvested longan now, sold them for a little profit. Adam nodded, sensing her dignity beneath the modesty. When it began to rain, he insisted on driving her home. She refused at first, but he gently said, "Please, at least let me help you stay dry." Inside the car, the rain drummed softly on the roof. Adam stopped by a small store, bought milk and instant noodles, whispering to himself. For her child. Tuna watched through the window, a blur of lights, water, and kindness. That night, Alex's phone buzzed. Adam's voice came through the static. "I saw her." For a second, time froze. "Is she okay?" "She's different now. Calm, strong. But she didn't ask about you." Alex closed his eyes. His chest tightened, not from pain, but from release. The woman he'd once tried to protect had already learned to protect herself. He whispered, "That's enough." Outside, the rain eased. In that stillness, Alex understood. Love doesn't always end in return. Sometimes it becomes a quiet prayer for the other person's peace. And at that moment, everything changed. The next morning broke in silver light. Dew clung to the grass like tiny tears that refused to fall. Alex returned to the orchard, the same place where he and Tuna once shared quiet laughter between the longan trees. The fields were still the same, yet everything inside him had changed. Long called. "We've searched the area," he said. "No trace." Alex only replied, "Thank you, Long. You've done enough." He hung up, staring at the hills washed clean by rain. For the first time, he didn't feel the urge to chase anymore. The world no longer owed him closure. Later that afternoon, he sat in the warehouse, finalizing a new contract. The same papers, the same routine, but his movements were slower, softer. When Adam walked in, still damp from travel, Alex didn't ask about Tuna. He only smiled faintly. "Did you see the fruit harvest? Are they as good as before?" Adam hesitated, then nodded. "Yes, and she's doing fine." That was all Alex needed. He looked out the window towards the horizon that once led to her. "She's doing fine." The words folded inside his chest like a quiet blessing. Meanwhile, in the little house by the edge of town, Tuna sat beside her child and the old bouquet. The petals had turned pale, the ribbon faded, yet she couldn't bring herself to discard it. "Mom," her mother called softly, "eat something." Tuna smiled, eyes still on the flowers. "I will. Soon." She took the envelope again, the one Alex had sent on 2010. Inside wasn't much, just a note written in simple handwriting. "For everything you've carried, thank you." Tears welled up. not of sadness, but of recognition. For years she had walked through silence, unseen. And now, someone had named her strength. That night, as her child slept, she whispered a prayer, not for Alex to find her, but for him to find peace. The wind carried it across the fields, over rivers, over orchards, where Alex stood once more beneath the stars. He closed his eyes, as if he could hear it. The sound was not words, but something deeper, the quiet hum of forgiveness. In that moment, he took one flower from the orchard and placed it in his coat pocket. "Good night, Tuna," he murmured, "wherever you are." The moon rose above the farm, spilling gentle light on the wet earth. The air was still, but inside their hearts, something finally moved, not toward each other, but toward peace. Weeks passed, the harvest ended. Life, as it always does, began again. In the cool light of dawn, Alex stood by the orchard's edge, watching workers load the last baskets of fruit onto the trucks. He breathed deeply, the scent of longan and soil wrapping around him like memory. A small bird landed on a nearby branch, shaking off dew. For some reason, he thought of Tuna, not as the woman who left, but as the presence that had taught him tenderness. He took out his phone, opened a blank message, and typed, "Thank you for teaching me that love can exist quietly." Then he deleted it. Some things were meant only to be felt, not said. Miles away, in her small home, Tuna woke to the laughter of her child. Morning sunlight spilled across the floor, warm and golden. The flowers had long dried, but she kept them in a glass jar by the window. The petals glowed softly in the light, fragile, yet unbroken. Her mother placed a bowl of rice on the table. "You seem lighter today," she said. Tuna smiled. "Maybe because the rain has stopped." Outside, the air shimmered with early light. She stepped out, lifted her child into her arms, and looked toward the horizon, the direction of the farm she once called home. Her lips curved into a small, peaceful smile. At the same time, Alex walked among the trees, tracing the familiar paths. The same wind brushed past both of them, carrying the faint scent of longan blossoms. Though they were far apart, something invisible connected them. Not longing, but gratitude. Maybe that's what love becomes when it's done right. Not possession, but remembrance. Not holding on, but wishing well. The sun rose higher, flooding both their worlds in gold. Neither of them looked back. They didn't need to. The past had already done its work, transforming loss into wisdom, distance into gentleness. As the light touched his face, Alex whispered to no one, "Maybe love doesn't end. It just changes shape." And somewhere, beyond the orchards and the quiet hum of life, Tuna closed her eyes and whispered back, as if carried by the same wind, "After all storms, there is peace." The camera slowly faded, from sunlight to stillness to silence. A moment of pure calm remained, the echo of gratitude between two hearts that once met, once hurt, once healed.
Sau khi tự Na rời khỏi nông trại để tìm việc nuôi con, Alex, vị COL từng đồng hành cùng cô, đã cố gắng đi tìm khắp nơi tìm kiếm. Giữa những ngày mưa và nỗi nhớ, anh bất ngờ gửi hoa và tiền vào đúng ngày 20 tháng 10, như một lời tri ân lặng lẽ dành cho người phụ nữ từng bên cạnh mình. Tự Na nhận hoa giữa chợ, cảm thấy ấm lòng lại. Dù không gặp lại, họ vẫn tìm nhau qua những sự biết ơn và thấu hiểu. Cuối cùng cả hai chọn buông bỏ nỗi đau, giữ lại niềm trân trọng, bởi tình yêu là sự thật, đôi khi không phải là để giữ mà để chúc nhau bình yên.